Hi, I'm Stan with Spitfire Management. Today we're going to spend a few minutes going over some of the key features that help Spitfire Project Management System and the Acumatica Cloud ERP system work together pretty darn seamlessly. I'm ready to get started, so let's take a quick tour. We're going to start by creating a new project. I click on that button, and it opens up my new project screen. It always helps to give a project a nice title. And we'll create a watering hole refreshment center for our favorite golf course. And there's a lot of other project attributes that are on this screen, some of which I'm going to just take their defaults for today. It likes to know a size. It likes to know a size of the building being built, and like the division, which is going to tie into the division in the Acumatica accounting software. So Spitfire is going to use all of these attributes we've just placed on the screen when I save this project to go ahead and create a new project in both Spitfire and the Acumatica system at the same time. And within a few seconds, we'll see the screen in the background change so that we'll see the project there as well. In fact, I can go ahead and close this screen up for a bit. And sure enough, here's our new project screen. Okay. You can see that this project exists, and it's already decided who the team members are going to be, again, based on those attributes. People often work on a particular kind of project together. The software has been configured to understand that. But here's our key performance indicators, and everything's 0. We need to get some budgeting information thrown in. And sure enough, Spitfire created a budget for us, a placeholder, and we're going to go ahead and open up our Excel budgeting tool, because even today, folks still use Excel for their budgets, and we can go ahead and import a budget that someone has prepared for us with just a few clicks to let the software know. Let me drag that out a little bit better on the screen. Sure enough, our budget is now imported, and we can see the totals up on the top. And if we scroll through it, we can see the long work breakdown structure and the detail of labor, materials, and subcontracted work. But it might be fun to also roll things up. So instead of seeing all that detail, we're seeing the work breakdown structure of the project that we're going to be seeing all the way through in the Acumatica system as well. So I've got this budget now, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. I can just close Excel, and it's going to ask me to save, and I'll go ahead and save it. But it's not going to be saved to some network share someplace. It's saved back within this Spitfire system, where it will be associated with the project forever. It will never get lost. All I need to do now, I would normally use some of the routing features of Spitfire that we're not going to go into today. We're just going to go ahead and mark this budget as approved. And I'm going to make the screen much narrower so we can watch all those zeros that were over here. It's a browser. I can size the screens any way I like. And when I go ahead and save that budget as approved, give it a few moments, and you can see the budget values show up right there on the project dashboard. Okay. Now we have a budget in Spitfire on the nice new project with these team members. Let's take a moment and see what's going on over in Acumatica. Right here on my menu, I've got this project accounting maintenance link. And that takes me right into Acumatica to the project screen itself, where I can click on the tasks, and there's that very same work breakdown structure we imported using our budgeting tool. But even better, here's the balances with the same numbers, the 750 and the 569, with the same breakdown, labor, materials, and subcontracted work with the other expenses thrown in. The employees we saw on the team listed here on the Acumatica Employees tab. So we've already got our project structure created. Things are going really quite well so far. We've got our project created in both systems, and we're ready to take it to the next step. In order to keep things flowing nicely, I'm going to switch projects over to this project that I started earlier in the day, and I'm going to go ahead and use this project and start spending all that money I budgeted. And I'm going to do that by creating a commitment. And again, if this was a full system demonstration, we'd talk about how we would use bid packages and place those bid packages into the plan room. And then we would probably send out invitation to bids and see who was interested in bidding on those bid packages. But we're skipping all of that process, and we're going to go right to the commitment stage and create a commitment. And when we create a commitment, I'm going to use one of the disciplines in the Construction Standard Institute listing. discipline 16, we could have a quiz and see who knew that was electrical work, but we'll pick a vendor who does electrical work, known to both Spitfire and Acumatica, a commitment type of subcontract. We'll use fixed price today. We need somebody who's going to take responsibility for this, and we'll use our demo employee. And we'll put retention on there. Retention is very important because when you approve work, you always are holding some of that payment back to make sure things stay good and kosher until the very end of the project. And we'll see how that works as the payments get sent over to Acumatica in just a few minutes. Let's take a quick peek at the dates. The project finish date was set up to be October 15th of 2015. And the assumption is this commitment will end sometime around there. And perhaps the electrical work actually will end just a month before that. We'll make it end on September 7th instead. Okay, we're going to watch for that date in just a few minutes. But now we get to the important part. We spent all that time setting up our budget, and for good reason. We're about to enter the items, what we're going to pay this subcontractor to do for us, and it would be weird to have to do it all from scratch. Instead, we're going to use our budgeted information, and again, we'll use that same 16 filter for the electrical work discipline, and now we can specify that we want this material in subcontracted work lines. We have some good numbers there, and we're done, and we'll add those items. And there they are. The items have been added to my commitment for me, ready to have me put in the numbers, and we'll spend $24,000 on those materials, and we'll spend we don't have to spend every dollar we have in the budget. We may be holding some in reserve. We'll spend $11,500 on the subcontracted labor, and we can save that and mark it as committed. Save one more time. And when we close, maybe we'll switch views here from our key performance indicators so we have room for our cost analysis. And you can see that there's the amount we just committed, materials and subcontracts, to spend on this project so far. That's step one. It's often quite likely that after you set up a commitment with someone, a subcontracted work, you need to give them some money to get started to buy those materials. We can use the create payment request link. There's a bunch of other actions here we could do in a longer workflow, but let's go ahead and create a payment request. Now the commitment's moved over to the side there, but I'm going to cover it up for a bit with the payment request. The commitment stayed over and slid to the left for me, and we'll come back to that in just a few seconds. But here's the payment request, and let's enter some of the things we need over here. We need an invoice number, and we need an invoice date. We'll make it a few days ago. And we need some items. But luckily, since we're paying that commitment, it knew what items we were doing, and we'll give them a 10% down payment. And in fact, we'll copy that down to all the lines. Right? I can save that. Works so far. And I'm going to go ahead and say, let's try to pay the guy. But I'll give you a hint, it's not going to work. Notice the message, instead of having been paid, it says 2 compliance issues. What's that all about? Well, Spitfire tracks the obligations of the different subcontractors. Let me drag this back so that there's room. And on the compliance tab, you can see that we need him to return his executed contract, and we need him to provide proof of workers' comp insurance. Spitfire is going to track these things. So let's say the workers' comp insurance expires in a few months. Might be long enough for the project right now, but as delays are introduced, it might fall out of compliance at some time in the future. But right now, we're out of compliance because we haven't dealt with those details yet. But we're ready to pay the guy his deposit anyway. Now, you could configure Spitfire for the compliance to be irrelevant up until 25% paid, but we wanted to show you how compliance worked. Now that we have, we can come, since we are a powerful employee, we can come set our payment control from automatic to just warn. And now that we've set it to warn with the status of approved, and when we resave this, it saves with changes saved. And we can close our payment request. In fact, we can close our commitment that was waiting. And let's see what's happening over on these actuals over here. When we refresh our actuals, we see that the numbers have appeared right here in this nice actuals column. If we click on one of them, let's say the $2,400 for materials, a little pop-up window comes up for us, and we can drill into we have two lines here. Wait, why do we have two lines? Because we talked about a little bit about retention. To pay the dude $2,400 for his work, we wind up splitting that and holding 10% back. So the sum of these two numbers is going to be the full $2,400 we're paying for these materials. But if we drill in and look at the big number, we'll see that this is the voucher that actually is linked to the external accounting system, in this case Acumatica. Here's the voucher that has been released for the total amount of $31.95. That is the immediate part of the payment to this subcontractor. And I'm not even sure whether it's forward or backwards, but if we go one forward or one backwards, here is the payment retention to the subcontractor for the balance, the 10% retention we're holding. Look at the due date on that. That's the September 7th, 2015 date that we entered on his commitment earlier. Retention is paid near the end of the commitment when we know all of his work is completed to our satisfaction. It's a liability right now that will be held in the system, but not due until the end. So there we go. We've just paid a subcontractor his deposit, including the retention, creating both of the vouchers in Acumatica by doing the entry and the approval work in Spitfire. I'm going to close a couple of these windows up. The last part is, now that we've started spending money, we really need to get our money from our customer in order to pay those bills. So we're going to go again to another project that I've set some things up ahead of time. And this project already has the schedule of values billing set up, and one round has been done. So when I open, in a sense, last month's pay application, I can see that the attachments down here are the printed part of the invoice, which is a beautiful AIA invoice, and that it was invoiced in Acumatica as invoice number 1008 for that amount. And we're ready to invoice the guy some more by creating the next payment application. We start out with the wrapper, where we can do things like specify the dates. And I'm going to keep the date range really tight right now and just go till September 2nd. A one-day billing cycle here, but that's just for demonstration purposes. Normally it'd be monthly or bi-monthly or whatever your billing pattern is. And we'll save that. And then, just like a budgeting tool was in Excel, we have our progress billing tool also done in Excel. It opens up, and the schedule of values from this project is displayed. And we have some amounts that have been previously paid, 25% already, 10%. I have lots more columns I could work with, and we can see how several of these lines have already been paid in the prior month. And we can perhaps increase the concrete to 15%, because we did some more work on that area. Progress billing can be very much from the gut as they go. We know, we just spent some money on mechanical and electrical materials, so let's start claiming 10% of each of those lines. Okay. Now that we've got those numbers in, we can see at the bottom that we have the work that was completed and that we're going to wind up billing for this time. And we're going to go into our SOV print mode. Since we've already picked our print template for today, we're ready to go ahead and acquire an invoice number. Now, this save is going to take a little bit longer than some of the other casual saves, because while it's saving this, again, inside the Spitfire catalog, it's also communicating with the Spitfire Acumatica software in order to actually post an AR and come back with an invoice number. And there it is. Now that we have an invoice number, we would go ahead and acknowledge that number, but we would want to create the print and save the printed work here. And I'll just need a temporary location for that. And all of our work is done. And when I close things up here and our payment wrapper comes back, and I'll hide the center section. You can see the amounts have been filled in for this period's billing. Down in the bottom section with the attachments, you can see we have the printed version of the AIA schedule of values billing in a fairly standard format, all ready to be distributed, the distribution of which can be taken care of in Spitfire by routing it around. All great for project management, but what's going on over in accounting? You can see it's been assigned invoice number 1009, just as we saw in the Excel interface. And just by clicking on that, it brings me over to Acumatica, right into the invoices and memos, where I have a released document for the amount to be billed. But again, the amount seems to be less than I was expecting. Where's the balance? And I could navigate through the Acumatica screens, but instead, since I'm a project manager type of guy, I'll close some of these things and use my link on my project dashboard to go back to Acumatica again. And let's take a quick look at the Balances tab in Acumatica, where I can see my actual revenue has gone up. And there again, we have the retention concept. Just like we're not paying our electrician his full amount until the end of the project, our customer is also holding money until the end of the project to make sure we complete things to their satisfaction. So there we've done the full cycle, a brand new project in both systems with its budget, spending the money to pay subcontractors, and invoicing our customer using schedule of values progress style billing. So that pretty much wraps it up for my quick demo today. There'd be lots more to see, but just give us a call and ask, and we'd be happy to show you.